Welcome back to UK Property Info. Before I explain why builders are losing confidence in the UK housing market and what this means for property prices and availability, I need to ask you something that genuinely matters to me. If you get any value from this channel, if these videos help you understand what is really happening in the property market, please take 2 seconds right now and hit that subscribe button. I am going to be completely honest with you. This channel is not growing the way I hoped it would. I pour hours of research into every single video. I analyze data that most people never see. I try to give you the truth when mainstream media gives you headlines designed to get clicks rather than inform you. But none of that matters if people do not subscribe. The YouTube algorithm only promotes channels that people subscribe to. So if you watch my videos but never hit subscribe, YouTube thinks my content is not valuable and stops showing it to others who need this information. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm just asking you to press one button that costs you absolutely nothing, but helps this channel survive and reach more people who need honest property analysis. Please subscribe right now and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Now let me tell you what is happening with builder confidence and why it should concern everyone in the UK housing market. Something deeply troubling is happening in the UK construction industry right now, and it is not getting the attention it deserves. The people who actually build our homes, the developers and construction companies that create the housing stock we desperately need, are losing confidence at an alarming rate. The latest industry surveys show builder confidence has collapsed to levels we have not seen since the 2008 financial crisis. That is not a comparison I make lightly. When builders lose confidence, they stop starting new projects. When they stop starting new projects, the pipeline of new homes dries up. And when the pipeline dries up, the housing shortage that already defines this country gets dramatically worse. What I am about to share with you explains why thousands of planned homes will never be built, why the housing supply crisis is about to enter a new and more severe phase, and why the dream of home ownership is slipping even further out of reach for millions of people. Let me take you through exactly what the data shows, and why builder sentiment matters more than almost any other indicator in the housing market. The headline numbers are stark and getting worse by the month. The Home Builders Federation Confidence Index, which measures how optimistic developers are about the market, has fallen by 47% compared to this time last year. That is not a small dip or a minor correction. That is a collapse in sentiment that reflects fundamental concerns about the viability of building homes in the current environment. When you dig into the component parts of that confidence measure, the picture becomes even more concerning. Builder expectations for sales over the next 12 months have fallen to their lowest level since records began. Land purchasing activity, which indicates future development pipelines, has essentially frozen. And the number of site visits from potential buyers has dropped by over 30% compared to normal levels. These are not abstract statistics. They represent real decisions by real companies to pause, delay, or cancel projects that would have provided homes for families across the country. Every percentage point drop in builder confidence translates directly into homes that will not be built and families that will struggle to find somewhere to live. Can I pause here for a moment and speak directly to you? Are you subscribed to this channel? If you are, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support means everything and makes this work possible. But if you are not subscribed yet, I am asking you to please do it right now. I know I keep mentioning it, but I need you to understand how important this is. This channel represents hundreds of hours of research and analysis. Every video you watch took me days to prepare. I read reports, analysed data, speak to industry contacts, and synthesize everything into content that actually helps you understand the market. But YouTube does not care about quality, it cares about numbers. And right now this channel needs more subscribers to survive and grow. If you appreciate what I do, if you want me to keep producing this content, please hit subscribe right now. It is free. It takes 1 second. And it makes an enormous difference. Thank you. Now let me continue explaining why builders have lost faith in this market. The first and most significant factor crushing builder confidence is the interest rate environment that has fundamentally changed the economics of development. When the Bank of England base rate was near zero, developers could borrow money cheaply to fund their projects. A typical development might have been financed at 1 or 2% interest, The numbers worked. The margins were healthy. Projects made financial sense to pursue. Then rates rocketed from near zero to over 5% in the space of 18 months. That might not sound like a massive change until you understand the scale of borrowing involved in residential construction. A medium-sized development might require 15 to 20 million pounds of development finance. At 1% interest, that is manageable. At 5%, the carrying costs alone can consume the entire profit margin. Many developers took out variable rate facilities or short-term loans expecting conditions to normalise quickly. When rates not only stayed high, but the Bank of England signalled they might remain elevated for longer, the entire business model for speculative development collapsed. Projects that were profitable at low rates became loss-making at current rates, and builders faced an impossible choice: continue with projects knowing they would lose money on every unit, or pause development and wait for conditions to improve. The second factor, devastating builder confidence, is the collapse in buyer demand that has accompanied the mortgage rate shock. When interest rates were low, buyers could access cheap mortgages and afford to pay premium prices for new build properties. The typical first-time buyer might have qualified for a mortgage at 2%. Today, that same buyer faces rates above 5%. Their borrowing capacity has shrunk by 25 to 30%, almost overnight. This has created a catastrophic mismatch between what builders need to charge to make developments viable and what buyers can actually afford to pay. New build properties typically carry a premium over existing homes because of warranties, energy efficiency, and modern specifications. When buyers had access to cheap finance, they could absorb that premium. Now that premium makes new builds unaffordable for exactly the demographic they were designed to serve. Builders are reporting that sales rates have collapsed. Properties that would have sold in weeks are sitting on the market for months. Show home visits are down dramatically. And the buyers who do appear are making offers significantly below, asking prices that developers simply cannot accept without booking losses. I need to stop again here and make a direct request. I know some of you have been watching my videos for weeks or even months, but have not yet subscribed. I understand. Maybe you meant to and forgot. Maybe you were not sure if you would keep watching. Maybe you just never got around to it. But I'm asking you right now, please subscribe. This channel cannot survive on views alone. YouTube promotes channels with subscribers. Without subscribers, my content gets buried and never reaches the people who need it. I am not a big media company. I am not backed by wealthy investors. I am just someone who cares deeply about honest property analysis and wants to share it with people who need it. Every single subscriber matters. Every single one. Please help me help you by subscribing right now. Hit the button, hit the bell for notifications. It takes 3 seconds and it means the world to me. Okay, let me continue with what else is destroying builder confidence. The third factor crushing developer sentiment is material and labour costs that remain stubbornly elevated despite the slowdown in activity. You might expect that when demand falls, input costs would fall too. Supply and demand would rebalance. But that has not happened in construction. Timber prices remain 30 to 40% above pre-pandemic levels. Steel and concrete costs have stabilised but at elevated prices. And most critically, skilled labour costs continue to rise because there simply are not enough workers to meet demand even at reduced activity levels. Brexit removed a significant portion of the European workforce that previously staffed UK construction sites. The pandemic disrupted training pipelines and apprenticeship programmes. An ageing workforce is retiring faster than new workers are entering the industry. The result is that even though builders are starting fewer projects, they are paying more for the workers they do employ: electricians, plumbers, bricklayers, plasterers. Every trade category faces shortages that push wages higher. This creates a brutal margin squeeze. Revenues are falling because buyers cannot afford premium prices, but costs refuse to fall because input markets remain tight. The profit that should exist between revenue and cost simply is not there anymore. The fourth factor destroying builder confidence is the planning system that has become increasingly hostile and unpredictable. Developers invest millions of pounds and years of time into securing planning permission for sites. They pay for consultants, environmental studies, traffic assessments, design work, community engagement, all before a single brick is laid. In recent years, that process has become longer, more expensive, and less certain. Nutrient neutrality rules have frozen development in large parts of the country. Local authorities lack the resources to process applications in reasonable timeframes. Political opposition to development has intensified in many areas. And even when permission is granted, the conditions attached have become more onerous and expensive to satisfy. Section 106 agreements that require developers to provide affordable housing or community infrastructure have become more demanding. Community infrastructure levy charges have increased. Biodiversity net gain requirements add further obligations and costs. Each individual requirement might seem reasonable in isolation, but when you stack them all together, developers face a constantly shifting landscape of obligations that make project economics impossible to predict. I have spoken to developers who tell me they have viable sites with strong demand but cannot make the numbers work because the cumulative burden of planning conditions consumes the profit margin entirely. Let me pause here because I want to speak directly to you again. I have been creating content to help people understand the UK property market. I spend hours on every video. I do this because I believe people deserve honest analysis, not just headlines. But I need your help. If you have watched this far, you clearly find value in what I do. So please, take 3 seconds right now and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. And if you really want to help, share this video with someone who needs to understand what is happening. Every subscription, every share, every comment helps this channel grow. It helps the algorithm show my content to more people who need it. I'm genuinely grateful to every subscriber who supports this channel. Your support is what keeps me going. Now let me explain what this loss of builder confidence means for the housing market going forward. When builders lose confidence, the consequences ripple through the entire housing ecosystem in ways that affect everyone. The most immediate impact is on housing starts, the number of new developments that break ground each month. The latest data shows housing starts have fallen by 35% compared to last year. That is not 35% below peak levels. That is 35% below already reduced levels from a year ago. Every home that does not start construction now will not be available for buyers for 2 to 3 years. The pipeline that should be delivering homes in 2026 and 2027 is being decimated right now. And there is no way to accelerate that timeline once the projects are not started. This creates a supply crunch that will intensify exactly when the market might otherwise recover. If interest rates do eventually fall and buyer demand returns, there will be far fewer homes available to meet that demand. The shortage that already defines the UK housing market will become even more acute. The second consequence of collapsing builder confidence is the impact on land values and development viability. When builders stop buying land, land prices should theoretically fall, and to some extent that is happening. But the adjustment is slower and more painful than a simple price reduction. Many landowners have debt secured against their land holdings. They cannot afford to sell at reduced prices without crystallising losses that might bankrupt them. So they hold on, waiting for conditions to improve. But builders will not pay yesterday's prices in today's market. They need significant discounts to make developments viable. This creates a standoff. Landowners who cannot afford to sell at current values, builders who cannot afford to pay prices that would make development profitable, and in between, sites that should be delivering homes sitting empty and unused. This standoff can persist for years. After the 2008 crisis, development land markets took nearly a decade to fully recover. We may be entering a similar period of paralysis that further constrains housing supply. The third consequence is on employment and the broader construction industry. The UK construction sector employs over 2 million people directly and supports millions more in related industries. When builders lose confidence and pause projects, those workers face redundancy or reduced hours. Skills that took years to develop leave the industry and may never return. Training programs that create the next generation of construction workers are scaled back because there are no jobs for trainees. This creates a vicious cycle. Fewer workers available when activity eventually recovers. Higher costs when builders compete for scarce labour. Even longer timelines to complete projects because capacity has been permanently reduced. The construction industry is not a tap that can be turned on and off at will. When capacity leaves, it takes years to rebuild. The confidence crisis happening right now will constrain the industry's ability to respond even if market conditions improve dramatically. What does this mean for different groups in the housing market right now? If you are waiting to buy a new build property, understand that choice may become more limited in coming years. Projects that would have been launched are being delayed or cancelled. Developers are focusing on finishing existing developments rather than starting new ones. The range of new build options available to you may shrink significantly. If you already own a home, the builder confidence crisis is a mixed picture. Reduced new supply should theoretically support existing home values, but the same factors crushing builder confidence, high interest rates, and weak buyer demand also affect the resale market. Your home's value depends more on buyer affordability than on supply dynamics in the current environment. If you are a landlord or investor, the builder confidence collapse changes the investment landscape significantly. New build-to-rent developments may become scarcer, reducing competition in some areas. But the same financing challenges affecting developers also affect leveraged investors. The opportunity depends entirely on your specific financial position and investment strategy. The government response to this confidence crisis has been woefully inadequate so far. Ministers talk about building targets, 300,000 homes per year, that become more laughable with each passing month. They announce planning reforms that might help in the medium term, but do nothing to address the immediate crisis. They provide no meaningful support for the builders who are struggling right now. Some targeted interventions could make a real difference. Government-backed development finance at below market rates, grants to offset the cost of planning compliance, guaranteed purchase schemes that give builders confidence in sales, support for skills training to address labour shortages. But none of these interventions are being deployed at scale. The government appears content to let market forces play out, even as market forces drive builders out of the industry and housing supply into freefall. The political calculation seems to be that housing problems can be blamed on previous governments or external factors. But the reality is that policy choices made today or not made today will determine housing availability for years to come. Looking ahead, the outlook for builder confidence remains deeply concerning. Industry analysts expect conditions to remain challenging for at least 18 months to 2 years. Interest rates may come down eventually, but not quickly enough to save many struggling developments. Buyer demand may recover as wages catch up with prices, but that process takes years, not months. The most likely scenario is a prolonged period of reduced construction activity that further constrains housing supply. Builders who survive will be more cautious and selective about the projects they undertake. Sites that might have been developed will remain dormant. The housing shortage that has defined Britain for a decade will become a housing crisis of unprecedented severity. Some regions will be hit harder than others. London and the South East, where values are highest but affordability is worst, face the sharpest corrections. The Midlands and North, where values are lower and affordability better, may prove more resilient. Scotland and Wales face their own distinct pressures from different regulatory environments. But nowhere will be unaffected by the collapse in builder confidence that is reshaping the entire industry. Before I finish, I want to make one final request, and I hope you understand how sincere this is. I have put hours of research into this analysis. I have tried to give you genuinely useful information about what is happening in the construction industry and what it means for housing. If this video has been valuable to you, please do 3 things for me right now. First, hit subscribe if you have not already. Every single subscriber helps the algorithm show my content to more people. Second, click the notification bell so you see every video when it comes out. Third, share this video with at least one person you know who needs to understand what is happening. Maybe a friend thinking about buying a new build, maybe a family member in the construction industry, maybe someone who wonders why housing is so expensive. Share this with them, because this information matters. These 3 actions cost you nothing, but they make an enormous difference to this channel. I am genuinely trying to build something valuable here, a source of honest property analysis for ordinary people. But I need your help to do it. Let me summarise what we have covered today. Builders are losing confidence in the UK housing market at a rate not seen since the 2008 financial crisis. The confidence index has collapsed by 47%. Housing starts have fallen by 35%, and the outlook remains deeply concerning. This is happening because of the perfect storm of high interest rates making development finance unaffordable, buyer demand collapsing as mortgage costs surge, material and labour costs remaining stubbornly elevated, planning system becoming more hostile and unpredictable, and no meaningful government support being deployed. The consequences will be severe. Fewer homes built over the coming years, a housing shortage that becomes even more acute, skills and capacity leaving the industry permanently, and a recovery that will take years, even when conditions improve. For buyers, choice will become more limited. For homeowners, values will depend on factors beyond your control. For investors, opportunities exist but require careful analysis. The builder confidence crisis is real, and it is getting worse. Thank you for watching UK Property Info. Please subscribe right now if you have not already. Hit the notification bell. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Share this video with everyone you know who needs honest property analysis. I am incredibly grateful to every subscriber who supports this channel. Together we can build a community that actually understands what is happening in the UK property market. I will see you in the next video.